You know, it's pretty wild when you stop and think about it. A single line of code can ripple out and affect millions of people. So today, we're not just going to talk about writing code. We're going to build something way more powerful, the Programmer's Ethical Toolkit. All right, let's dive in.
It all boils down to this fundamental truth. It doesn't matter if you're a student just writing your very first Hello World program or if you're a pro building a massive system. This is ground zero for ethics in programming.
See, with every single line of code, you're doing more than just giving instructions to a computer. I mean, think about it, right? A simple little algorithm on a social media app can literally influence the news people see, how they feel, and maybe even how they vote. You're creating things with very real-world consequences.
And that, of course, leads to the big question. Are you ready for that kind of responsibility? Because being a programmer, it's not just about technical skill anymore. It's about being a responsible creator. This is where ethics comes into play. It's the practice of not just doing things the right way, but doing the right thing and working hard to prevent any harm.
Okay, let's open up our toolkit and grab the first principle. This one's a biggie. It is absolutely fundamental. We're talking about fairness and how we use it to combat bias.
So what do we even mean when we say bias? Well, in programming, it's kind of like a warped lens. Our code, and look, this is almost never on purpose, ends up treating some groups of people unfairly. It's this hidden bug, but instead of crashing the program, it hurts real people.
This is a perfect example of how this stuff plays out. So imagine a company creates an algorithm to help them hire people. Now, if they train it using their hiring data from the past, which was mostly men, the algorithm learns that pattern. So what happens? It starts favoring male applicants and filtering out amazing, totally qualified women. So how do you fix it? Well, you've got to go back and retrain it on more balanced data, or maybe even add some rules to make sure it's being fair.
And here's another one, and this one is a really, really big deal. A facial recognition app works just fine on people with lighter skin, but it completely fails to identify people with darker skin. And this isn't just some small inconvenience. This can lead to serious life-altering harm, like being falsely accused of a crime.
So what gives? Is the programmer malicious? Is the code racist? Honestly, almost never. The real problem here is the data. If the app was never trained on a diverse set of photos, it literally doesn't know how to see a wide range of skin tones. And that, right there, is exactly why having diverse teams building this tech is so crucial. People from different backgrounds will spot these blind spots a mile away.
Here's the bottom line. When people feel like a system is unfair, they will stop trusting it, period. Our job as programmers is to try and think ahead, to hunt for these potential biases, and to build systems that treat everybody with respect. That's our first tool in action.
All right, let's grab tool number 2 for our kit, and you'll see how it builds on the first one. This is all about taking responsibility. It basically means you own the real-world impact of your code.
And a massive part of being responsible is being transparent. It means you can't just build these black boxes, where data goes in and a decision comes out with zero explanation. If your code is going to decide if someone gets a loan, you have to be able to explain why it made that decision. They call this explainable AI.
I mean, just imagine this for a second. You apply for a loan online, maybe for your first house or to start a business. You put everything into it, and all you get back from the system is a single word, denied. No reason, no explanation. Can you imagine how powerless and frustrating that would feel? It's awful. A responsible system tells you why, so you can actually understand and maybe even fix the issue.
And that's really the key takeaway here, right? It's not enough for your code to just work. Good programmers, great programmers, they build things that are clear, that can be explained, and where someone is held accountable if things go wrong. Okay, on to our third tool, and man, in today's world, this one is just non-negotiable. We are talking about protecting people's privacy. So this kind of breaks down into 3 connected pieces. First, you've got privacy, which is all about respecting a person's information. Then you have security. That's the technical side, the locks on the digital door. And finally, the whole point of all of this is avoiding harm. I actually remember working on a project with sensitive medical data once. We spent weeks just on the security part because we knew one little mistake could have devastating consequences for people. And if you want to know why this is so critical, just look at this scenario. You build a health app. People are trusting you with their most private medical details. But if you don't build strong security, a data breach could blow that incredibly sensitive info wide open. The harm that could cause is just immense. And guess what? As a creator, that responsibility lands right on your shoulders. It really all comes down to trust. When someone gives your app their data, they are handing you a piece of their life and trusting you to keep it safe. Our ethical duty, our job is to protect that trust like it's the most valuable thing in the world and to never, ever break it.
Okay, so we have our 3 principles: fairness, responsibility, and privacy. That's great, but how do you actually use these tools on the job, in the real world?
Let's get real for a minute. Let's play out a scenario. Your manager tells you to add a new feature to an app that tracks a user's location data, even when the app is closed, and they tell you to do it without explicitly asking for permission. You get that feeling in your gut, right? You know this is a huge violation of privacy. So, what do?
This is that moment where you reach for your ethical toolkit. It's your compass. Professional codes of conduct from organizations like the ACM are super clear about this. You have a professional duty to speak up. And look, this isn't about being a troublemaker. It's about being a leader. It's about raising a concern and helping find a better, more ethical solution.
And listen, this isn't just about protecting users. It's about building your own reputation. Seriously, companies are desperate for programmers who think critically and have a strong ethical backbone. I've seen it time and time again. The people who are willing to speak up and push for what's right, those are the folks who end up leading teams and really shaping the future of tech.
So as we wrap this up, I want to leave you with one final thought. From right now, your ethical toolkit is open and ready to use. The next time you sit down at your keyboard, just remember the incredible power that you have. Because the very next line of code you write, will it help or will it harm? The choice is all yours.